Right, so let's start setting up our own simulation. So I'm going to start with a sphere. Drop that at the top, and I'm going to set this to, you can use it, leave it at primitive, but I'm going to set it to polygon. And then I'm just going to raise it up a little bit, 1.5. Okay, and give it some more frequency. Just move out so we can see it there. Okay. So yeah, I'm just going to set up the super basic sim, what you need, to actually get something going, and then we'll come back and add things in to make it look more interesting. So now we'll drop in the pyro source. Okay, just drop that in underneath. Again, I think this is new for 2000, if I'm definitely 17, but I think it was to Houdini 18 that this was added. So the pyro source. So yeah, so you can see here at the moment we're just making points. We're not making any attributes though, so except for p-scale. Sorry, we're adding onto that. Before we don't, and then we got p-scale and just this group. So we don't want to keep the input, which are just the points from, they're the same points from here. If I kind of highlight them, maybe maybe if I set this to wireframe, you'll see they don't change, right? So you have that option. You can also, as I said, we can surface scatter, okay, which will just put a load of points on the surface, and then suddenly we get this option, this particle separation, for how many points you want, basically, or the average distance between the points, really. So there, we're just adding small points on, and then you've also got the volume scatter, which will fill the points, fill the inside of the object with points, as long as you've got a kind of watertight piece of geometry. All right. So yeah, we are going to stick with the volume scatter. And I set this back to default, just whatever it was before, 0.1. Now for the attributes, we've got this initialize. Okay, so we need to select one. It has source fuel, but we want source smoke. So we just click that, and it will generate a density attribute, generate a temperature attribute, and set the value to 1 on both. We've got these scales here, which are just like multipliers, basically. Okay, so now we go back into the geometry spreadsheet, and we can see we got temperature and density. So, these are all things that you can do yourself without this node. You might be bringing in density or temperature from another process or another simulation, and that's absolutely fine. This is just made for convenience. You just need points with these attributes on them. Okay, obviously, and it's better just to keep them always temperature and density. There's no reason why you would want to change them. They don't have to be those, but it's better just to follow the typical workflow. Density, temperature. You might also, if you're working on fire, you'll want source fuel, so that will give you fuel. In fact, now with the source, sparse solver, we don't actually use fuel anymore. We use something called burn and flame, I think it's called. But if you're using the standard solver, you'd be using fuel. And then you've got source color as well. So you're adding alpha and the color attributes as well to do color. Okay, but we don't want that. So set this back to source smoke, and then delete these ones that we don't want. Okay, density and temperature. Fantastic. And then I'm just going to go straight to volume, rasterize attributes. Here, okay, just drop that in. And so at the moment it's not doing anything. We need to tell it which attributes to rasterize into a volume, which are density and temperature. Okay, so you can just type them in here. Oops, then density and temperature, like that. Not our. Tempera. I can't spell today. Temperature. There we go. And then if we change the background to dark, still don't see anything. That's probably because of the voxel size. Maybe if I drop that down to 0.05, we should have, yeah, we do have them. I just can't see them for some reason. Maybe let's give ourselves some more particles there. Oh, I know why. There we go, because we were in wireframe mode. Okay, so once you do that, you can see your actual volume. Okay, so there you can see the size of it, the names of them, and the boundaries there. Okay, sorry, the boundaries here and the actual quantity of voxels, so 50,000 in each, which is not a lot. Typically, we're going into millions of voxels when, you know, for our final sims. Obviously, dependent on your, you know, the capabilities of your machine. So that's all you need really for a source. Obviously, we will be adding more to this. And then just drop in we'll do it with the Pyro solver. Okay, we'll look at the configuring of this. You can just plug that in, visualize that, and we have a simulation. Look at that, beautiful. Okay, so next we'll go ahead and start adding noise and, you know, trying to get something a bit more interesting than that.